So, welcome to the Treasury Elite Leadership Series. I would like to thank all our viewers and members for supporting this noble cause of Treasury Elite, whose main objective is networking, knowledge sharing, and mentoring. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Abhishek Goenka, founder and CEO of IFA Global and Treasury Elite. We bring in world-class FX and treasury practices and automation for companies across India over the last 15 years. And today we have Mr. V.S. Nagesh, commonly known as VSN in the industry circle, Chairman, Shoppers Stop, and founder, TRRAIN. VSN is the founder of TRRAIN, of course, which has a vision of empowering people in retail with the mission of upgrading their lives not only at work but also at home. VSN has contributed significantly in ushering modern retailing in the country. He stepped out of the role of as an MD in Shoppers Stop in 2009 at the age of 50 to start TRRAIN to fulfill his personal belief of 25 years of learning, 25 years of earning, and 25 years of returning. He's a non-executive chairman now at Shoppers Stop and also the founder of the Retailers Association of India in 2004. Ms. Nagesh was recognized as an iconic retailer and was conducted in the World Retail Hall of Fame 2008 at the World Retail Congress conducted in Barcelona. With his induction in the World Retail Hall of Fame 2008, he is the first Asian retailer to take a significant place alongside 100 stalwarts of the global retail industry. He is a recipient of Helen Keller Award for being the role model in creating livelihood for the person with disability. Welcome, BSN. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much, Abhishek. Thank you for inviting me. And as good as one can be, I would say wonderful and first class.
Glad to have you today at our Treasury Elite Leadership Series. In the next half an hour, I would love to learn from your experience. So, sir, you have had a pretty long stint, and when I talk to a lot of these global CEOs, at one point of time, it is not only about the money. And since you have taken a not-for-profit cause, I would like to ask you one of the single biggest reason today to get up every morning and get yourself to work. If I may ask, what is your why today?
So Abhishek, it has always been basically 3 or 4 things. One is being a learner and a seeker. Every morning you want to get up and learn something new because yesterday will never come back. And if you lose today, tomorrow will be again yesterday. Yeah? And today will be yesterday. So for me, that's the most important thing. So every day when I get up, I do anything I do. Okay, whether I'm going for a walk with my friends or whether I'm going to work in my trust or whether I'm talking to people in Shoppers Stop. It's always to learn, seek, and look at saying what's new. That's number one. Number 2, the purpose in my mind is always bigger than the business. So if all of us can actually look at a business and look at a bigger purpose, if for example, if you are in the business of financial literacy and you are actually helping people to become better in finance, then your business can be how much you are teaching them and how much they are learning. Alternatively, your business purpose can be that through your learning, how much they are growing in life. If that happens, then you're not looking at your curriculum. Then you're looking at the outcome of the individual. So your purpose shifts from your business objectives. So I think that to me is the second important thing. And third is whatever I have done, I've always looked at measuring impact. See, because sometimes what happens, as sometimes you are dreamers, pagalpan hota hai, junoon hota hai, you think of big things. But those big things remain big in your mind or become big on your drawing board. But if you have the ability to measure impact, it makes a big difference. So for example, in Shoppers Stop, very early in 1992, we decided that everybody in the company, only job is to serve customers. So we said, then why should you have different designations for different people in the company? So we made one designation, customer care associate. Even today, that's the only company in the world which has this common designations across. So everybody's purpose was not sales, profits, but it was simple. How do I care for my customer? So that kind of a shift makes a difference. So for example, in the trust, when we talk to people, I said, whenever somebody asks you, what do you do? Don't say you work for TRRAIN. Say, I change two people's life every day. Now, I'm 100% sure that 100% of people will ask you, what the hell do you do? And then you can say, I work for TRRAIN. So if you look at it, before the pandemic in that year, we impacted 8,000 people's lives, 5,000 persons with disability and 2,000 women. Now, 8,000 out of 300 working days, and we are 10 of us. So just look at how it totally changes. So for me, that's my why. Okay, and it becomes so simple. This complicated Excel sheets, P&L, balance sheets, cash flows, when converted into simple to say, we are in a business of satisfying 1 million customers every day. Only measure those customers who are not satisfied. Or if I am in my trust in the business of providing livelihood to 10,000 people who require livelihood in the country, just look at saying how many you have not provided. And the whole reason for you changes.
So very well, simply explained the purpose that let's not make it complicated, make it simple. And as you rightly said, at the core, how in Shopper Stop you change this customer care associate, and in the mind every single day, if it starts hammering that you are here to just take care of your customer, I think you don't need large mission and vision statements in your organizations.
It becomes very simple. And I have still not heard anybody who said, you know what, I went to their store, what a customer care attitude they have, but I did not shop. It will never happen. Okay, there's a very likely chance that they'll say, went to shop for $1,000 and I came back with 2,000 because, they were so helpful. So I think those are important things for me.
That's excellent and very well explained. So, of course, Shopper Stop has become an iconic brand. I wanted to ask, how did this brand evolve? And of course, you mentioned about one of the philosophies about taking care of customers. But is there anything else that we should gather from your brand philosophy? And if you could share some instance that how things grew.
So because you said that you have entrepreneurs, owners, investors, financial experts, CEOs and CXOs, I would like to give you the perspective of Shopper Stop from 3 points of view. Firstly, I would like to talk about the Raheja family. Okay, and this is important because many of the entrepreneurs here, okay, maybe businesses which are running. When I joined in 1991, I was unknown to them and they picked me up through a common interview. Okay, but in a year's time, the bond that we developed, they let me run the organization. So today, the success or failure of every stage in life of Shopper Stop, I am responsible. So, but they were so well informed then and even today that many a times Neil and Ravi will know more than what I know or the managing director knows, because they have very good information and insight, not control, okay, but very, very compliance oriented. So one of the things that I always tell owners, shareholders, founders, families, that when you get an MD or a CEO, okay, who's been brought in with lots of responsibility, allow him to perform. Otherwise, don't get a person there. So I would give the credit of Shopper Stop to the family, which allowed the professionals to build up the business. Yeah, this is the only retail company in the world which started off with 100% shareholding with a private family and 100% management with a professional and his team. That I think is a very big learning. And most of the businesses have a challenge. The owner gets a CEO, but he works more than the CEO. I was talking to somebody and he said, Mr. Nagesh, help me get a CEO and a CFO. So I said, why should I help you get a CEO or CFO? I'll help you get a CEO. Let the CEO and you decide which CFO you should have. He said, no, it has to be together. I said, why? He said, CEO will report to me and CFO will also report to me. I said, why? Because CFO can then control the CEO and the company and my finances. So, this is a starting trouble. Trouble. So that was one. The second I would say is that most of the people who joined Shoppers in the early times, my first startup team of 8, 9, 10 people, they all came to an organization which had no name, no fame, no background, and no experience. Retail being built by a real estate player who's never done consumer business. Okay, being a department store being set up by somebody who's never run a department store, and a company which doesn't even know what the brand name will be. Because when I joined, it was a property company. So everybody only joined me with only one thing. I set a dream. I said, we'll set up the country's largest department store in the next 2 years' time. And I had never been abroad. I didn't have a passport. Okay. But that dream. So the second thing I would recommend to everybody is, if you have a dream as a leader, ensure that you share the dream through and through. Don't share only the good part of the dream. So for example, on the day we joined, we started off with 13 employees. Okay. And the office that we had was very dirty, very dirty. Okay. Because it was closed for years. So we opened it up and we said, okay, let's clean it ourselves. One of the person came to me and said, I didn't join the company to do this. So I said, then you have a choice. Either you do what we are doing or you decide to leave. He left. And after 3 years, he met me and he said, that was the biggest mistake I did. So to me, that's the bad part, but it's not the bad part. The bonding that we had because we did that together is fantastic.
Right.
So if you look at the QSR business in this country, the best of leaders have in one point in their life worked at McDonald's. Nobody ever asked, why is it that the best of QSR leader comes out of McDonald's? Because the learning and the teaching and the bonding that you have in the first few years of your joining, from a trainee crew to a crew member, is unbelievable and amazing. Even parents don't teach that kind of learning to their children at home. But to me, that's the second part of it. The whole ethos with which your leadership team works. Of course, there are multiple things. And the last is, of course, what I said about the customer care. For any business, the customer has to be in the center of their work. And the CEOs have to take a call that if they are getting a call from their banker and their customer at the same time on their two mobile, which mobile will they pick up first?
Correct. Correct. Sir, what is your experience? Is India extremely price sensitive market? Is doing business in India is very difficult as compared to the Western counterparts? What's your perspective?
I am part of the world's largest department store body called IGDS, and I'm on the board of that group. And I must say that when you look at India, especially for anything to do with retail or services, anything to do with last mile, India is a very tough business compared to any other part of the world. Because what's happened is India has reached the expenses of international country, okay, with Indian revenues, especially in the services. If you look at real estate, which was an important part of the business, real estate, we were in the top 10 in the world. If you look at the retail per capita spend, we were in the bottom 10 in the world. So that's the first, and this is fundamental. And therefore, almost every person who entered the country looked at 1 billion that time and 1.3 billion and multiplied by $1 simply and said in a 3 years time we'll be $1 billion company. So therefore you look at even Indian CEOs, although they do business in rupees, when you ask them about their vision, they'll say we want to be $1 billion company. So this is a myth which got created. Not that there's no opportunity. That's the first thing. The second, if you look at it, that in India we have a regime which is an MRP regime for products. Now, what this does is that you can't differentiate services and therefore charge differently for the customer because you're bound by the. So, if you go to London and you're on Oxford Street, okay, the same product you may buy at £100 and the same product you may buy at £130, depending on which store you're buying for. You're willing to give. Or if you look at in India, okay, the same bottle of water which you pay 20 rupees, you're willing to pay 85 rupees in a hotel. Right. Okay, because somebody just comes and opens the cork of the bottle. Okay, right. And it becomes no more a product, it becomes a service. So this is one challenge. So therefore, your gross margins get dictated by the MRP fixed and the cost at which you buy. And therefore, the only opportunity for Indian retail and the Indian brand and the product ecosystem was to develop private brands. Okay, or get into branded area. And therefore, you look at the FMCG returns or the FMCG profitability. Probably India is one of the few countries where the FMCG's EBITDA is more than the margin given to the retailer. Okay, and so that is the challenge that an Indian business faces. And therefore, India has grown much on private brands. So if you look at it, the success stories of Indian brands have been people who have set up their own brands, actually have gone and created their own price. So I say wherever an Indian company has the power of pricing, okay, for them the chances become better. So therefore, retail is also moved from private brand being an important part of the margin gathering. Lastly, if you look at it, because it is MRP, Therefore, the only way you can create value is by discounting to MRP. If you look at around the world, value is denominated by cheapness. So you will say get it for $1.99. In India, you will say get 70% discount on $4.99. Okay, because of the MRP regime. So therefore, we have got driven into a value market. And if you look at in the last 5 years, especially in the fashion, in many products, we have been in a deflationary stage, although the customer has been buying as many quantities. So your question is right. India has become a value-driven market. Unless you are able to get the right volumes and the right mix of operating expenses and capex, okay, India will always remain a challenging and a very thin margin market.
Nagesh, there are a lot of young entrepreneurs who will be listening to this. So I would request you to throw some light on how to scale up. So a lot of business leaders, they face challenges in terms of scaling up. Any secret sauce or a plan of action that one can follow to get into a global map? Because after a certain time, you get into a comfort zone, you're not able to scale up, you have problem of resources, problem of money. How do people scale up?
See, there's no one simple answer or a single answer for this question. It would depend on what your current business model is and what your future business plans could be. Or alternatively, are you already an existing business or are you a startup? If you're an existing business in brick and mortar, then I would always say that establish yourself in your region or in the city or the state that you are. Okay, bring it to where you know the model. And at this point of time today, see if you can actually get into a franchise route or add up with an online business. So make it a truly omni-channel. Omni-channel from technology is online. Omni-channel from channel management is a franchise route, because India has a lot of properties, commercial properties still being held in the hands of families, okay, who would prefer to run their own business rather than lease it out. Okay, and these are the businesses where you have the second generation who are coming as educated, and therefore there are options of creating franchise models. So that will also bring down your capex, share your opex, share your revenues, and therefore you have an ability to scale. And India businesses, consumer facing businesses require two skills: entrepreneurial skills on the front end and business process and professional skills at the back end. And I think India is absolutely ripe with the front end entrepreneurs to actually make this win-win combination. And I think those are the things that are a possibility. If you look at the omni play is no more a choice. Omni is a must. But unfortunately, what's happened is the headlines and the role models created in the country have actually messed up the thinking of the entrepreneurs. So what happens is everybody looks at Omni and says, oh, you know what, if you become online, you can be an Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, or you get a valuation like a Paytm or PhonePe or things like that. And not forgetting that in India, the online is still 3%. Even if you look at a food and grocery, less than 1%, apparel, maybe 10 to 12%. So if you're in the current business, don't do Omni as that being the mantra. Omni has to be again seen from a customer's lens. If 90% or 85% of the business is happening on the ground, you can't move away and suddenly start looking at only the 10%. It's also because of the media. If you look at media, the headlines are only about the online players and the valuations. Okay, nobody talks about the 90% brick and mortar business, which is actually making the business take. In the last 1 year during COVID, it was not the modern retailers or the online players who really made a difference to this country. Aapka hamara kitchen chal raha tha, it was because of general trade. Because of the 12 to 14 million retail kiranas and small retailers who next door were opening the store at 7 o'clock and serving you. Okay? They were willing to face COVID when you were not willing to face COVID. So I think that's where the opportunity is. And we should keep that in mind. So look at an omni opportunity without losing sight of your brick and mortar, which is 80 to 90%.
So what are your three major learnings from your spiritual and business journey over the last many years? And what would be the message that you would like to pass to the next generation?
Well, you said business and spiritual. I can only tell you that...
business is spiritual.
I have a lot of this discussion with my family members and others. For me, work is life and life is work. Okay, and for this, most of the times I get brickbats only. But that's the reality. So if you look at the same point from a different view, when you're building business, ensure that you let go in a way that somebody succeeds from you and the business can live longer than life. And I think that is something that has helped me a lot, whether it is retail association, whether it is shoppers, with any company, any business that I have been involved with. Okay, at every stage I have stepped out, okay, with a successor, so that I can see the company surviving without me. And that to me as a personal philosophy, and it's very important for me. That's business. When it is personal, if you have the ability to think, if you die tomorrow, what will happen? And millions of people die every day. So tomorrow could be my day or your day. So in that situation, how do you ensure that your today's life is the best that you can lead to? Okay, I think these are two things which give me tremendous happiness and positivity, and helps me to do things. And
Yeah. In fact, my next question was on the TRAIN thing which you have started. Of course, it's about empowering their lives both at home and at work. And love to know a little bit about what it's doing currently and how is it impacting people's lives, and what kind of change have you seen in yourself and people's lives after this initiative?
So we started this in 2011 with a clear objective of empowering people in retail. India has 46 million plus people who work in retail. And with an average family size of 5.4, you're talking of 250, 230 million people, Indians, who are dependent on this trade. So whatever I am, the reason you called me today is all because of my retail work and the fortunate association that I got with various brands and companies. So my journey has been to say, what can I do to make other people's life better, both at work and home? So we started this trust called TRAIN, Trust for Retailers and Retail Associates of India, with 4 clear objectives. How do we build pride for the community of retail employees? How do we get them respect for what they do? How do we make retail a more inclusive space? And how can we create a developmental platform which can help them grow on their own? So for pride, we created a day called Retail Employees Day on the 12th of December, 12/12. And we said Diwali, Christmas, Eid, New Year's, when the whole world is celebrating, these kids are actually working almost 18 hours, 20 hours to make your life happier. Yeah.
Correct.
So can we create a day which is there, Diwali, Eid, Christmas, New Year's? I'm so happy that 12/12 has become such a day. Last year, 15 million people celebrated this day across 5 countries.
Very nice.
And it's going year on year, it's adding. My dream is that one day before I pass off, probably the whole world will celebrate this day. Yeah. The second was on respect. What they do very well is customer service. Okay, so we started an award called TRAIN Retail Awards for Customer Service, where we recognize them on the basis of customer service. That award has become the pinnacle of customer service in retail in the country. But fortunately, I realized that globally also, you get the best CEO, the best manager award, but nobody ever recognizes the front end of any business. So fortunately for me, my association with IGBS took this award global. So 2015 in Rome, 17 in Toronto, and 2019 in Tokyo, we selected the best 6 associates in the world of department stores. So 41 countries participated. So this is also a global event now. The third was on inclusion. There we found a very unique opportunity in India. India has 26 million plus persons with disability, and retail has 46 million people without a attrition. So we tried to marry this. With a partner in Hyderabad, we started off our first center where we actually brought youth with disability, especially orthopedic challenges. And after 45 days of residential program and training, we got them jobs. The program became so successful, Abhishek, that from one center before the pandemic, when in the pandemic we had to close all the centers because of proximity, we actually did 5,000 youth in 1 year itself. So cumulatively, starting with 22, we have helped 17,000 youth to be skilled, and 73% of them are today working in retail. I must say that most of them would come from families where their income would be less than 100 rupees a day, the family income. And most of the kids have started their first salary with an average of 9,000 to 10,000, which means their family income goes up to between 300 to 400 rupees a day. It multiplies. Tremendous impact we have seen in their lives. During the journey 2 years back with UNDP and Disha, we actually did a similar program for girls coming from poor families, and see how we can bring them up. And this program called Train Her also has become very successful. The disabled program, we call it as PUNK, Wings of Destiny. The second program we call as Trainer. So as a trial, last year in 2019, we did 1,800 odd girls and 70% of them got jobs. Hopefully by March, April, all of the centers should open, and we should be really aiming. Our objective is the next 2 years to hit a 10,000 per year mark and really create a livelihood program. I would say that we are very happy with the way the program has progressed. The fourth objective is development. Now here is where I want to scale, and therefore instead of doing physical, we have created an app called TRRAIN Circle. It's a community app, and we already have 125,000 members on it. Our aim is to reach 10 million members in the next 3 years' time. And this is an app which helps the employees and the families get counseling, doctors on call, knowledge, deals, education. I'm looking for micro lenders who can come on the platform. These are people whose earning is 10 to 12,000. Family income is between 15 to 25,000. Their biggest challenge is anything they want to do in life. Okay, they require finance, and they are nowhere in the radar for anybody for financing. Yeah. So I would love if through your medium, there are companies and individuals who like to work with me and create microfinancing for this segment of people. I would love to work with them. So this is a platform which we have created, and I think the early response is positive, but in a year's time, we will see. This is something which we can scale up. The last project we have just completed and launched last week is the Kiranas, where we have actually come out with a report of transforming Kiranas. I believe that in India, if you transform 1.5 million Kiranas, you will create 3.5 million jobs. And Kiranas will be the most modern retail that India or anywhere in the world you would have seen. So now my journey is towards seeing how I could help with whatever little might I have in helping Kiranas transform into modern retail.
Very interesting initiative, sir. And I'm sure I wish you all the very best for this, all the initiatives that you have taken.
Thank you.
And building.
Yeah. Thank you.
Lastly, any fun fact about you that people don't know?
Well, it's so strange that nobody has ever asked me this question. So it's good that you asked this question. Otherwise, this wouldn't have come. Well, the only fun fact I know that nobody knows about it, that I used to do a lot of mono act plays in my younger days. And this was when I was in school, right up to, I would say, 10th, 11th. And I used to also do this in female roles. Yeah,
Interesting.
Which is even my family doesn't know. So if they see this, beat me to it. How did you disclose this? I will say, you never asked the question. Abhishek asked the question. So.
He gets the answer. So it was lovely talking to you. Lovely to get a perspective of retail. Lovely to get a perspective about your social initiative and how, once again, you're telling that so many people's life needs to be changed. And I think the entire nation needs to move in that area. And your perspective about technology and unlimited supply of money and how things are changing. How you have to make your own USP and your own product and your own brand, and how you have to work in the retail was pretty eye-opener. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs who are in this particular segment would definitely get a lot, and probably they can contact you in case they need some kind of an advice.